On today's show of Elevate Your Wealth, we are going to talk about some very interesting things. We're going to talk about how a lot of millionaires in this country are flunking Retirement 101. We're also going to be talking about why it might be good to think about a hybrid type of retirement, work a little bit longer, and then we're going to talk about those that think that if they've reached close to $1.5 million, that they are ready for retirement, and that may or may not be the case on today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. Elevated financial management, where you can find them right here in Seattle. Over 42 years combined experience between these two, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. And again, it's always about retirement planning. You're going to have questions about your own situation. We're going to give you an opportunity to get on their calendar, complimentary, leaving the checkbook at home. Stay tuned for that. But we're going to get into some articles today. I'm excited about this. The hottest stuff off the press we'll talk about. But guys, first and foremost, how was your week?
It was good. You know, we just had wonderful weather here in Seattle this past weekend, which is so nice for us to get this kind of weather in April. So we were pretty excited about that. Casey, I know, has been doing some stuff with his dad. And, you know, we had a nice, easy weekend. I did a lot of yard work, got my backyard in, got that thing sprayed. As Casey knows, that's only taken me like 4 years to finish up. So I'm pretty excited about having a backyard now. So, yeah that was what I kind of did this weekend.
Yeah, that sandy patch in your backyard was looking real depressing, dude.
The extended project.
Yeah, exactly.
We looked at that for a long time.
Yeah. No, it's been good. Yeah, like Mark said, we've had nice weather, and, you know, it's been a nice break, and it's been very surprisingly nice weather for, you know, even March, April time. It's been really good. We just need the Mariners to step it up a little bit, if I'm being totally honest. But we're still excited for what the rest of the year brings, so we're hopeful, right? We got our fingers crossed for the rest of it, and yeah, no, it's been good. My dad got a new truck, so I helped him go pick up his new truck, so that was exciting. And, you know, we've had a lot of people in the office, and we're making some changes around the office. We're still decorating, right, even though we've been here for a few months, right? I'll say a few months, even though it's longer than that. But, you know, the reality is Mark and I are not interior decorators, right? So we're doing the best that we can, but we think it's coming together pretty well. So.
All right. I tell you, it looks fantastic. And again, you know, for our audience, we are in two different studios, but we have video so we can see each other, which I think is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I can see Mark's facial expressions, which sometimes aren't great. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And then of course, you know, it's always entertaining. It's fun. We get into all these different subjects, but it's a serious topic. It's about retirement planning. It's about being ready for what is going to be your postseason. And I really like, you know, what you guys are doing, and that is, you know, during the course of the week, you're scouring, you know, I guess the financial institutions, the media that's out there, retirement information, the great articles that are out there, and you're bringing those to the show, which I love. And the first one, and I just want you to get to just comment on the title itself. Even Millionaires Flunk Retirement 101. It's a study that's out there. You've got some interesting numbers, and I see it right now. Almost 3,800 Americans that were surveyed between 50 and 75, and the results were not good, guys.
No, they weren't. And, you know, I think really flunking Retirement 101. So, right, this study that was done is just talking about financial literacy. And the point really with the title is that even the millionaires, even those that you would think have a better hold on financial literacy, actually don't. And so that's a big concern. I mean, as we approach retirement, we talk about this all the time. There are so many decisions that have to be made, decisions that you haven't made previously. When do I start Social Security? How do I invest to make sure my income is steady in retirement? How do I invest to make sure that my money lasts? How do I deal with taxes? What do I do about Medicare? All those things. And most folks have no idea about any of these. Maybe they do have an idea about one of them, but it really starts in school. And the schools do not teach financial literacy. They don't talk about how to balance a checkbook. They don't talk about how the market works or compound interest and those kinds of things. And you really see the effects of that when we get into talking about this study. And I know Mark's got some thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I was just thinking, for our listeners, this study was put out by the American College of Financial Services. This is the college where you go to get and learn if you want to become a certified financial planner, your CFP designation. A lot of us study there for all of the different continuing education that we have. So the American College, it's legit. And when they come out with this kind of a study, it was staggering, actually, what it said. They did a 38-question quiz, and these people, different age groups, 50 basically to 75. And Casey mentioned it, but the key point of this study, I thought, was that there was persistent gaps in what people know, especially about Social Security, inflation, Medicare, long-term care planning, annuities, the A word, life insurance, and then taxes. And yet these are the things that are going to, especially taxes and inflation, are going to be the two biggest eroders of our money in retirement. So you need to have a good handle on these topics, and yet when people are quizzed about it, they're failing. I mean, millionaires are getting basically an F in this category. So this was very eye-opening to me, but it also sends a really important message to everyone. Anybody listening today, you need to listen, right? You need to take some action and get some help, because if you don't, it could really backfire.
It's an ongoing education, too, because I thought the other part of the breakdown that was interesting, participants with ongoing advisory relationships. So let's just say, you're working with an advisor, they're scoring higher on this quiz, but they're not that high. They're at 38%, and if they're out there solo by themselves, they're going 27%. So what does that tell you? Even if they're working with an advisor, they're not up to speed on everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you mentioned those numbers. So let's think about that again, right? The average score of somebody without an advisor was 27%, and the average score of somebody with an advisor was 38. So both failing scores. One is better than the other, but both failing scores. And I think really this has to do with the fact that a lot of advisors don't focus on education, right? And a lot of advisors only talk about the average rate of return for an investment and how it's done in the market and all these things. Those are important pieces to the puzzle. We're not belittling those thoughts or ideas or facts. But we are saying that the focus on education for clients is the key, and that is the center of our business. And the reason it's the center of what we do is because people need to feel empowered about their investments, about their retirement, so they can enter retirement with confidence, with clarity, and with independence. That's our mission statement, and that's what we're focused on. I think this is so key here, just tying into what you just said, Morgan. It says that even those with advisory relationships scored higher than those without, again, that 38 versus 27%, but they still need to learn a lot more about better managing the asset decumulation period of their lives. That cannot be understated.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we're talking about.
Well, and think about it, gentlemen. We talk about this all the time. People are so focused and so dialed in on the accumulation.
Exactly.
They're working their entire lives, they're saving, they're putting away, but the flip is when they have to decumulate, when they have to start taking monies from those accounts, and that's where people they fall short.
Yeah, well, see, and this is why so many of our workshops we do, Casey and I start talking about there is a massive difference between the wealth accumulation advisor and the one that's going to take us down the mountain. They maybe got taken up the mountain in a very good way, but now coming down is a whole different ballgame, especially so many of those wealth accumulation advisors won't touch taxes. And we believe if you don't have taxes incorporated into a plan, it's not going to be near as good as working with someone that incorporates taxes into that. And so that's where I believe we can really stand out as being different.
And another area I want to jump into real quick, we want to make sure you guys understand, our listeners, we're here, we do talk about these different topics. We also give you an opportunity to kind of get the ball rolling on your end. Like if you have not started working with somebody, or maybe you're in the middle of something but you're not being communicated with, you can get a second opinion. Again, we'll open up these appointments, and they are cost-free. You leave the checkbook at home. The number's 866-668-3625. That's 866 866-668-3625. That'll get you in touch with Elevated Financial Management. You can make that appointment. You can kind of see where you are. But going back to the things that we're just kind of missing on, and this study that shows that even the people that are being guided and working with an advisor are still falling short on some of these grades. I want to talk to you, Mark, specifically about long-term care. This is something that we end up talking about health care, but the further extension of that conversation is long-term care. And a lot of people that is not even on their radar.
Yeah, they don't. In fact, many have heard me talk about this. I'm in this business because of what happened with my grandparents. My grandfather got Alzheimer's, and I watched him lose pretty much everything from a liquid position, right? And so those that don't want to talk about this and stick their head in the sand, it can be dangerous. If there is an atom bomb that's going to go off inside of your plan, it's going to be that. And when you up here in our state, you're looking in King County at close to anywhere $125,000 to $150,000 a year for one person. Where's that money going to come from? So you've got to be doing something to talk about this and then get a plan together.
It's about continuing education, gentlemen, and we talk about it each and every week. We're talking right now about this article that even millionaires are flunking Retirement 101. And if you've ever been in any kind of educational class, the starting point is 101. And millionaires are flunking this. So you need to get in touch with what's going on with your portfolio and your plan. Guys, we've got positions on the calendar. Casey, what's going to happen for these callers?
Well, this is for those that recognize that they need a hand, right? If you want a written financial plan put together by a team of certified financial planners, this is your opportunity to get that. We will talk about Social Security, Medicare, long-term care, taxes, inflation, decumulation, which means spending the money that you've worked so hard to earn. How do you keep it? How do you make it last? We'll talk through all of that with you on a custom tailored approach. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone.
Here's the phone number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. 866-668-3625. When we return on Elevate Your Wealth, do good things come to those who wait? The potential benefits and features of working longer. We'll talk about that article when we return. Welcome in to Elevate Your Wealth. We're back. Elevated Financial Management is the power behind the program. Our hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. That's where you can find them, Elevated Financial Management, again, right here in Seattle. They have a wonderful resource website. Check out efmnw.com. All letters, efmnw.com. They've got links to the TV show, radio shows, and podcast form. Great information there. Any event that's coming up, you'll find out information, again, at the website, efmnw.com. All right, so it's always about retirement planning. Mark and Casey are certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, and we're getting into some of the latest articles when it comes to retirement planning. So here's the title of the next one. Do good things come to those who wait? The potential benefits and features of working longer. Gentlemen, this is a subject that we have broached before. And some people may want to work longer. Some people may have to work longer. Some people want to stay engaged socially. They want to keep that going. But do good things come to those who work a little bit longer? Seemingly, it would say the answer would be yes.
Yeah, before we get deep into this, Morgan, there was one little quick stat that I wanted to share from that study by the American College on people that think they're ready for retirement, right? And so the quiz was, they got rated from 1 to 5 as far as their knowledge base goes. If you had a 5, you were very knowledgeable. So all those that scored a 5, when it came to the actual test, they ended up failing. They only scored a 45 on the test. So that just really tells us people that think they know what they should be doing in retirement are still flunking these tests. So I thought that was an interesting stat that I wanted to bring up. But that takes us to what we're really talking about. Can it be beneficial, Case, if someone decides to maybe work a little bit longer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it helps in a lot of ways. And I think this article does a good job of really showing that and as to why that is a benefit, right? So, I mean, there's the certain things on the surface, right? Maybe you've got some obvious benefits like your salary, employer benefits coverage, more time for your assets to grow. That's pretty straightforward, right? I think everybody can kind of understand that. But there's other things that are less apparent, right? Like the impact that it has on your Social Security payments. And how a later retirement date can impact the withdrawals from your retirement accounts. And so those things are not as surface. And so as we dig into this, we'll kind of do our best to help illustrate the point that this article is making for the viewers. There's some pretty cool visuals that are in this article as well, but we'll do our best to kind of draw those out.
I tell you, and talking about just when you're going to retire, the age you're going to retire, and I think we all kind of get tunnel vision when it comes to retirement. We start thinking about a number.
Yeah.
It needs to be kind of a fluid situation. It depends on the individual, depends on the couple that is retiring. I mean, you can't just pick a number. I mean, it's nice to know, but a lot of times it's kind of fluid. We don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Morgan, because Casey and I had an appointment last week with an individual. He's single. And he came right out and told us he was going to pull the trigger a couple of years ago. He got close to retirement time, and then he realized that he hadn't thought much about it when it comes to what was he going to do with his time. He was worried that, you could tell he doesn't have a real large network of friends outside of work. And when your social network is so tied to your work life, it can be a little scary. And so what he ended up doing, he goes, you know what? I'm not doing it. And he put it off. And it's been 2 years has gone by now. And we talked a lot of, that's something we pride ourselves in here, is helping people talk about some of the things that people really need to consider, especially what do you want your retirement to look like? What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? Not so much the money. The money is going to be needed to do certain things, right? But there's so much more to this type of planning. And people really need help sometimes just making some of the basic mental decisions that they don't really think about. They think about the money, but there's so much more to it than that. You remember him, Case?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he's not the only one, right? A lot of people feel that way. They don't know what they're going to do in retirement. And that's why they push it off, right? That's why a lot of people do push it off. And he even made the statement that that's kind of what he's worried about now. Yeah. But it's interesting that if we rewind, he was going to retire 2 years ago. Right. And what he said was, well, at the time I realized I don't have a plan for retirement. Yep. So I was right on the cusp of retiring, and I went, oh gosh, I don't know what income I don't know what this looks like, how I'm going to deal with the finances of all this. And so he put it off. And, I look back at that and I think, in his circumstance, had he had a plan 2 years ago, he could already be 2 years into retirement doing all the things he wants to do, right? And I think that's really key, right? Is that plan is what gives you the license to go live your life.
Gives you confidence. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the plan, it's willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of, there's a lot of stress involved. You work with a fiduciary, you work with a fiduciary firm, you sit down, you map this out. You start talking about, okay, how do we translate? How do we transition from our accounts to an income in retirement? And once that's explained to people that are just getting into the planning process, I mean, the light bulb goes off. I mean, it's a roadmap.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's truly about income. A lot of people, have maybe nice big 403Bs or 401Ks or TSP plans. But we believe it's all about income. Income. What can it generate, right, on a monthly basis? Because it's once you know that you have that guaranteed paycheck for life that's going to come in, that's when true freedom, we believe, begins to happen for our clients. And they can go do what they really dreamed about doing instead of it turning out to be just a fairy tale because they're so stressed out about what the market's doing. I had a client just a little while ago text me, and she said, yeah, the market's down again. And I try and tell her, the market's going to do its thing. And if you just look at it and you're stressing every day about it, you shouldn't be in the market. Okay.
Yeah, don't stare directly at the ticker because it can absolutely freak you out.
Yeah. Yeah, so Casey hit the nail on the head for us. It's about a plan. And if you have a plan, then the red money, we talk about the red money, the money in the market, that's going to do its thing. But then we also talk about the green bucket and the yellow bucket. And there are agencies around here that think we keep it too simple by just talking about the three different colored buckets. But we don't care because we know our clients love that concept. We keep it simple for them, and they're successful. That's all we care about. If they're successful in retirement, that's a win for us, and we feel very good about that.
I mean, it's a stressful time, and if you can keep it simple and you can illustrate and have conversations with your clients about, just step 1, step 2, step 3, and you get to where you want to be, that's going to relieve a lot of stress. So having that plan, being ready for retirement, it is key. Opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management, meet with Mark, Casey, and their team. They're complimentary appointments. It's ongoing during the course of this show. The number you call is 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. The number again, 866-668-3625. Again, talking about, what is the best age to retire? It's going to be different for everybody out there. So having a plan and working towards that. I want to get to this, guys, as part of it, as we are looking at retirement, an important factor that a lot of people don't think about, or maybe they actually are thinking about it. They're thinking about Medicare. They're thinking about 65, and all of a sudden, that becomes their number. But I guess what I want to ask you guys is, with Medicare being that at 65, do you see a lot of your clients going, that's when I want to retire?
Yeah, a lot of people that does keep people a lot of people away, or a lot of people put off retiring because of healthcare costs. And we get it. It's expensive, right? I mean, we've had a couple of folks come in recently that are retiring early. One of them is retiring as young as, I think he's going to be 56, and I think his wife is 57. So between the two of them, they're both retiring early. But they've got to deal with with the cost of medical for the next 7 years, 8 years on their own before they get to Medicare age at 65. And for our planning purposes, we're planning almost $1,000 a month for each of them, right? So it's $24,000 a year between the two of them that you have to shoulder that. So not only is your cost more expensive if you retire early, but you're saving less, you're getting less compound interest, your Social Security isn't growing as much. All of these things factor in. And I know that we've got to go to a break shortly, so I do want to come back and talk more about this, because I think it's so interesting to see the impact that delaying has not only on the account balances in this study, but more importantly on the income, right? The account balances are one thing, and a lot of people get hung up on that. And I just really want to highlight this very quickly. If you are hung up on trying to get $1 million in your 401k or 1.2 or whatever that number is, it's not that that's a bad goal. That's not what we're saying. What we really care about, though, is the income that produces. That's the key, right? It's not about having this big nest egg. The nest egg's supposed to fund our life. The way it funds our life is through income. So we got to make sure we create that income.
Yeah, got to generate it. Got to generate the income. Listen, we've got spots on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Let's walk through how this is going to go. Mark, again, we've got an opportunity for people. Tell us about how these appointments are going to go.
Maybe you're working at Boeing, you're going to retire, or any other great companies in our area. Please pick up the phone, give us a call. Let our team of certified financial planners talk with you. Figure out what you want to do in retirement, the things we talked about. What about taxes? How are you going to address those? What about income, as Casey and I just talked about? How important is that, knowing that's going to be guaranteed for life? And then, of course, what decisions will you make when it comes to your medical coverage? All of these things are so important. Please pick up the phone, call, keep your checkbook at home. Let's just have a conversation.
All right, here's the number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. Again, if you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call the number, 866-668-3625. When we return, more retirement talk, of course. We'll finish up, do good things come to those who wait? We talked about that article, and we're also going to get to this next one, 1.46 million. Is that the magic number? Well, we'll talk about it when we return. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth, powered by Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle, and that's exactly where you can find our hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. Over 42 years combined experience between these two in the retirement planning business. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We go back and forth on so many topics each and every week, always about retirement, always about the importance of, education, having a plan, getting you to retirement, but also getting you through retirement. So we were into this article, Do Good Things Come to Those Who Wait? Potential Benefits and Features if you work just a little bit longer. Casey, Mark, we've got some solid numbers here. Let's go over those. If I retired, let's say at 62, 65, 67, and 70, the numbers are, well, they're eye-opening.
They are, yeah. So this study was based on, or this hypothetical was based on 4 participants, all age 60, with a 401k balance of 500,000. And so they're just, the only difference is that they're retiring at different ages. So they're assuming the same contributions, they're assuming the same Social Security, all of those kinds of things. The only difference is that they're retiring at a later date. And the impact that this has is staggering. It's huge, right? So the first one is somebody who retires at age 62, and their account balance at that time is 579, so almost 580,000. Okay, now that makes sense, right? Because we said it was 500,000 at age 60. It's only been 2 years. They've got some contributions and things, some growth. So 580,000. Now the difference to age 65 is 720,000. The age to 67, or difference to 67, is 828. And the difference to age 70 is $1 million. So from between 62 and 70, 62 was 580,000, 70 was $1 million. That is a big difference. And
almost doubled.
Yeah, what's being factored in there, right? It's compound interest, it's growth on the investments, it's contributions, right? And it's employer contributions. And I think a lot of times all of those things are not weighed properly in people's minds when we think about retiring early and the impact that has, right? And so that's really key. Now, what I'll say, and we just talked about this, is that account balances are only part of the story. Yeah. What really matters is how much income you'll have in retirement. That is really what this is about, right? Again, people get caught up in balances and their 401k balance. Not that there's anything wrong with having a goal there or something like that. There's no issue with that. But what we really should be focused on is how much income we're going to get, right, Mark?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in this same study, Casey listed the numbers, but it is amazing how much more. If you go at 62, average income is going to be right around 50 grand a year, a little over. If you wait till 70, it's 120, basically almost $125,000. Now, just think about what I just said. 62, 50,000, 70, 124 per year. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Well, but that's 8 years that I don't get my money. And that is true. But again, if you do the math, normal life expectancy, you're right, you're going to need to live probably 11 and a half, 12 years. But people that don't think they're going to make it to in their early 80s are probably kidding themselves. Now, there are some of us that won't. We all know that. But the bulk of us will. And so when you should take your money, you don't want to make a decision based on thinking Social Security is not going to be there. There are some changes coming. We don't have time to get into that right now. But the point is, if you've got a plan, then we can factor in all of this stuff. And we know if, let's say, Social Security does change in about a decade, and we get cut by 20 or 25%, where do we replace that from? See, a plan's going to give us the confidence, like you mentioned all the time, Morgan, that people won't have to worry about this. That's why it's a big deal. You got to have a plan.
Well, and being fixated on a certain number. It's going to be different for everybody, but
Right.
Your nest egg might not be this huge thing, but you can generate income out of the nest egg that you have, but it takes planning.
That's right. It does. It takes planning. It takes time to set that up. And going back to the example that we shared in the previous segment, that gentleman was ready. Mentally, he was prepared to retire 2 years ago, right? But he didn't have a plan, so he couldn't actually do it. And that's the difference, right? That's why a lot of people prolong their working years, is because they're nervous and they don't feel comfortable. And Mark, you just said something that I think is really valuable. That the idea here between waiting from 62 to 70, that's 8 years, right? That's 8 years that I don't get to go live my golden years, right? Or do whatever it is. And that really is important. And this is where we're talking about the financial aspect of this, the numbers, right? And that's easy to do when we do it in a vacuum, right? There's no real emotion involved with this and goals and those kinds of things. But the reality is we're not saying it's wrong for you to retire at 62.
No,
That's not it at all. It may be right for you to retire at 55, right? It just depends on your situation. What we're really trying to highlight is if we are going to retire early, we want to know what additional obstacles that brings, right? What additional hurdles that brings in. And that, again, is where the plan comes in, right? We can't just go into this and think, well, I got $1 million, I'm 57, I'm going to go ahead and retire. That may not work the way that you think or the way that you want.
And we say this a lot on the show, and it rings so true. It's not like you're going to walk into Elevated Financial Management and you're 62. And Mark and Casey go, oh, you're 62. We're going to walk over here to the 62 drawer. Here's your plan.
Bucket, yeah.
Right? Or if you're 65, it's the same thing. They're not going over to the 65 drawer and they're whipping something out. That's not how it works. I mean, everything's customized. Your situation is going to be totally different from anybody else's, but it takes working with professionals just to map it out. And it can be done. But the first step is get in the office and have the conversation.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've told this story several times on the air, but I have a client that's living in Colombia now, and he's loving his life, but he never had a plan. But once we put it together, he sold his properties in Tri-Cities, 2 of them, which is Eastern Washington, and his income now is more guaranteed every month than what he was getting with all the hassles of being a landlord on 2, single-family dwellings. And so he lives down there 10 months a year and 2 months with his son in South Carolina. I'm a little envious because it's a really good plan, but that's it. He put it together. We did it together, and all his goals and needs. He even has a chef down there. And I'm like, wow, I would love to have a chef and be able to live for $2,500 to $3,000 a month and live like a king. And that's what he's doing.
Man, I think if you got a private chef up here, you're probably spending $2,500 a month just on the food for the private chef to be making you stuff, right?
I'm just thinking about a private chef. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I would expand my real estate, my personal real estate, by a few pounds. I mean, if I had a private chef.
Exactly. Your stomach is going to expand. I already got enough of that. I got a lot of friend down there.
Man, I was hoping it'd kind of be the opposite. I really need to lose a couple pounds. You know what
Well,
I mean?
I guess you could
Yeah,
could plan your
pick the healthy
menus with
side,
your
I guess.
chef and
Yeah.
go healthier, and you could reduce the real estate, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, we're having a little chuckle with this, but it's so. I mean, there it is, folks. I mean, if you have a plan and you map it out, things can be accomplished, but you have to make that plan. You have to basically say, you know what, I'm going to take some time here. This is very serious. I know it can be stressful, folks, but if you're working with a fiduciary and you're just, you're talking about your goals, you're creating that roadmap to get you where you want to be, you have that peace of mind knowing, you know what, I've taken this step. That's the first one you have to take.
Yeah, you do, right? You got to take the step. You got to be willing to have the conversation and think about what your goals really are, right? If it is your goal to retire early, and maybe that's a couple years away, what can you do now to have a positive impact on that? So many people wait until right before they're ready to retire.
Right.
To start educating themselves. And the problem is now it's too late, right? Now you have the knowledge, but you don't have the time to put it into play, right? So if you're thinking of this, you want to retire early, or you want to retire late, or you want to retire in the middle, whatever it is, right? Whatever you want to do, now is the time to get the knowledge. Just try and figure that out.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
We talk about, there's 3 phases to our life. It's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years, right? And I'd rather have my money when I can up front in the go-go years, right? And if that's for you at 55 or 60 and you've got the money to do it, go for it, because that is going to allow you to do things. Because once our health starts to fail, it's not as fun. Right? And all of us are going to go through this. I'm going through not so much the health decline, but it can happen because I'm 67. So I'm doing a lot of the things today that I'm sharing with everybody on the radio. I'm dealing with this retirement stuff myself. So it's real. Get a plan. Come and have a conversation with us.
Opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management ongoing during the course of this show. If you've saved $250,000 towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. You can call and grab an appointment right now. 866-668-3625. Again, the number 866-668-3625. Real quickly, gentlemen, magic numbers. I mean, people have it in their head. They have to get to a certain number. And again, we've got an article in front of us that says a study finds that it's 1.46. Yeah, that might be for some people, but the magic number is what it is. I mean, what you have is going to be your magic number, so you got to make sure you're planning.
Yeah, and it used to be like $1 million, right? That's kind of why we say that a lot, right? It's like if you're thinking, well, $1 million and I'm good, $1 million may be enough, right? That may be more than what you need. It very well could not even be close to what you need, right? It could be way less than what you need. It all depends on how much income you want. That is what this is about, right? So when we see studies like this or articles that talk about this new magic number, it says the new magic number is 1.46. Well, life is more expensive, inflation, whatever. We can talk about all those things. But the reality is your number's unique to you. As you mentioned, Morgan, you put it in a great way. If you walk in and you're 62, we don't walk over to the 62 drawer and pull out a plan for you. It's the same thing, right? Your number that you need for income in retirement, the number that you need to create the income that you need in retirement, it's unique to you, right? Because how much Social Security are you going to have? Are you going to have a pension? How are your investments structured? How old are you when you're retiring? How long does that money need to last? Yeah. It is up to your individual circumstance.
It's an interesting case because we just worked with a client. He wants $160,000 a year of after-tax income.
Right.
Totally different than somebody that wants 120 or 100, right? So again, the number doesn't matter, like you said. What do you need each month? And then the key is, where is it going to come from? Is it going to be guaranteed? Because we know our clients that have at least Social Security, 1, 2, or 3 pensions, they are the happiest that we have because that guarantee is guaranteed. That income is guaranteed.
Let's jump on this. Let's fill up some appointments. We've got spots. Casey, what's going to happen for these callers?
Well, again, this is for those that want to plan. So if you've been thinking that $1 million is your magic number, or you've been thinking you want to retire early, or you're worried about what taxes are going to do to your retirement income, you're worried about how Social Security is going to be affected if you retire early, what all of these things look like together, you want a written plan put together by our team of certified financial planners, this is for you. This is a custom-tailored plan to talk about your life, your goals, and what you want to make your money do for you. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Call us now.
The appointments are open. Here's the number, 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call now, get the ball rolling, or get that second opinion. 866-668-3625. One more time, 866-668-3625. When we return on Elevate Your Wealth, it's time for question and answer. We've got scenarios. We'll throw them at the fellas. We'll see what they come up with. Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle at Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. Great resource. Website, efmenw.com. All letters, efmenw.com. Links to the TV show, our radio show, and podcast form. Great information. Any event that's coming up, there'll be information there as well. And of course, Casey and Mark are certified financial fiduciaries, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. And again, that's why we do this show. We're here to educate. We're here to help. We have some fun with this show, but also it is very serious stuff when we start talking about retirement planning and getting ready for your end game. All right, so it is now time for scenarios. And the first scenario up, 62 years old, trying to manage what I have in my stocks, and I've been looking into annuities, the A word. This product sounds great because of fixed funds, but I don't know much about them. What are the pros and also the cons of annuities versus, say, stocks? Mark, start us off.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. You mentioned it, the A word, right? And annuities. So again, it's about education, and we use annuities when they're appropriate. Does everyone need an annuity? We know the answer is no to that. Do all our clients have annuities? No, they don't. But if we want income that they can't outlive, an annuity is absolutely one of the top, if not the top vehicle that anybody can use. Social Security, which is going to be a major pillar for everyone's retirement, is an annuity. Every pension plan in America, I don't care what company you work for, it is an annuity. So everybody that wants to tell us how bad annuities are, I think I would run the other way, right? Because I'd love to have 3 or 4 pensions. I would. our happiest clients are the ones that have pensions. And why is that? They don't worry about their income. And we talk about this every week, every month, every year. It's never going to change for us. It's important, right, Case? Isn't that kind of how you feel about it too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's that income. Again, it's all about income. That's really what this boils down to. And you cannot underestimate the importance of income in retirement.
Well, I was just going to say, just have an open mind. Don't shut it down the minute you hear annuity. It's an opportunity to gain more knowledge. It's an opportunity to understand that it's not just one annuity. There are many, many types, and they can be customized to something that could be a really, really good fit for your portfolio. So why not investigate, right?
Right, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is so often. People will say to us, right? I mean, Mark, people say this to us all the time, right? Well, I've heard annuities I know they're not good, right? And we go, okay, what is your experience? Well, I've never had one, but I heard that they're not good. Okay, well, what have you heard about them that's not good? I don't know, but I just heard that they're not good. Yeah. Well, I guess for me, the thought is we live in a society where you can be more educated than at any other time in the past. So why would you not take the time to be educated, right? That's the big thing. And that is what we're wholly focused on. And for some reason, people think finance, including annuities, has to be this black box where there's no real information about anything. Somebody just told me one time that it was no good, and so I'm sticking to that, and I'm going to die on that mountain. And that's crazy to me, right? That's nuts. There's nothing else in this world that drives me crazier than somebody who does not want to have education about just everything, right? We have so much available to us. You can go on YouTube and learn how to fix anything at your house. You can do all this stuff. Take the time to be educated, and more importantly, take the time to be educated from somebody who actually knows. That's the big thing.
I was just going to say, we've been doing this a while, and I remember like early on in our show's history, Mark basically he just peeled the curtain back. He's like, Social Security and pensions, they're annuities. Don't be scared to have the conversation. Maybe it's not a good fit, but it might be. And that's why you have to have that open mind.
The funny you say that, Morgan, because if you research annuities on the internet, I'll tell you, you're going to find 50% of the people love them, think they're the greatest thing ever, and then 50% are going to tell you they're Satan. Okay? And that's the funny part. But again, what is the truth about these things? And I will tell you that when it comes to safety and guaranteed income that changes people's retirements, they're amazing. And so, but again, it has to be the right type. And the problem is people lump all annuities together. And there is one type that we don't like at all, the one that Wall Street talks a lot about. The fees are ridiculous. But see, that's just not true of many of the other types of annuities. So you need to be educated, really learn about them. Because I'll tell you right now, one of the top economists in this world right now, Tom Hegna in the United States, he owns 11 annuities. So why don't you try and tell Tom how dumb he is, right, or foolish he is, right? It's not going to work. Ben Bernanke, the ex-Fed chair, his two biggest assets that he possessed were two big annuities. He ran the world economy. So I just, billions and billions are going into annuities every year. So are all these people foolish? We don't believe so.
Well, it's worth a conversation. We say it each and every week. If you're out there and you are sitting on a portfolio and you've done really, really well, you've saved, you've accumulated, now you've got to start thinking about, how am I going to generate income once I get to retirement? Yep. What are the vehicles that I'm going to need to make sure that happens? That's where the conversation starts. Yep. We give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management and have this type of conversation. It is cost-free. You leave the checkbook at home. You can ask the A-word question, the annuity question, and you can see possibly if there might be something that would fit well in your portfolio. But it all starts with the conversation, starts with, building that retirement plan. Now, opportunity, it's here now. We've got the appointments. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, you're going to grab one of these appointments right now because these strategies are going to work best for you. 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625 to secure one of those complimentary appointments. Leave the checkbook at home. All right. Another scenario for you, gentlemen. My husband has been a financial do-it-yourselfer the whole time we've been married, but we're both 63. So I'm worried with us being so close to retirement. Can you give me something that I can basically talk to him about that will convince him that retirement planning is different and we need to sit down? So this scenario, I would imagine, plays out quite often.
Yeah, it does. It does. And before I answer it, hopefully I can just say one last thing about the annuity conversation, because I think this is really key. If you are being told by anybody that an annuity is not a good investment, we feel the same way about that as we do of somebody telling you that this other investment, whether it be the market or anything else, is a great investment. It doesn't matter unless it's applied in your situation, right? The annuity is not good or bad until we've determined what you actually need. The market is not a good or bad investment for you unless you can stomach the risk and we determine what you actually need. It's not that knee surgery is bad, but if you need shoulder surgery, knee surgery is a terrible idea, right? And so it's the same concept. What do you actually need? Yeah. That's the question. And that's why we don't talk about hot stock tips and how this investment did and this, that type of thing. That's not what any of this is about. No. What do you need? What is the custom tailored plan that you need, and what tools are going to help accomplish that? So sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack us there, but I just had to get that thought out of my head.
No. I totally understand. So let's jump on this, and then we're going to give people an opportunity to get on your calendar. So we've got time for this final one. Husband, financial do-it-yourselfer. I'm sure you guys see this quite often. They're in their early 60s, and the spouse is worried that they're getting very close to retirement. And basically, she is saying, how can I convince my husband, my partner, to sit down and start planning?
Yeah, we put actually an article in our work kits and our workshop materials that deals with this, because there is a big difference between the accumulation advisor and the decumulation, or a true retirement advisor. They are night and day. And one of the main reasons is because we will deal with taxes. So again, and do-it-yourselfers can be a little, I love to give them to Casey. Okay.
And I love to give them to Mark.
Yeah, no. They can
you take them. No, you take them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They can be challenging, right? But if they're open-minded, like you talk about all the time, Morgan, it can be a game changer when they really realize how complicated and how many decisions they truly have to make when it comes to health care. We haven't even touched the estate planning piece,
right.
Probate. What about, guaranteed income and taxes? So again, there is so much difference in this world that a true decumulation advisor is going to help you with, where the accumulation advisor, a lot of them, I hate to say this, but they're like deer in the headlights. They don't know what to do, and they'll just freeze. So again, work with someone that can truly help you come down the mountain.
Yeah, and I think that's key, right? Even if you've been the one doing it yourself, right, or your spouse has, retirement is vastly more complicated. And so could you learn a lot of this information? Probably, right? I mean, if you've been doing it yourself for a long time, you probably have some sort of aptitude for it, and you're comfortable in this realm, and that's great, right? There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, a lot of our clients have a portion of their assets that they still manage themselves. We don't have an issue with that, right? If you're comfortable with it, that's great. But here's the deal. When we ask anybody what they want to do in retirement, because that's what all the money is actually about, is what you want to do in retirement, never once has anybody said, well, I'd like to wake up and check the stock market and see how my accounts are doing, and worry about the fact that it's been red for the day, and determine what type of income I'm actually going to be able to have next year and how taxes are going to affect me. Nobody's ever said those words, right? It's never happened. Right? And I promise you that nobody's ever said those words to any retirement planner or financial planner across the globe. So that being the case, do you want to spend your retirement dealing with your own finances, or do you want to go live your retirement, right? And that's really what this boils down to.
That was so well said, Morgan. You can't say it much better than that, because we want people to go live their life and do the fun things. Stop worrying about the money. Stop worrying about volatility. Stop worrying about PE ratios. It needs to stop at some time. And, if you just keep it up, it's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to wake up every day and freak out. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to relax and enjoy your retirement. It takes a plan, folks. Opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management is right now. Mark, what's going to happen for these callers?
Yeah, please, if you've been listening today and you're kind of concerned, you want to know what your retirement's going to look like. You want to know how to deal with taxes. Maybe there's Roth conversions in your horizon. Maybe there isn't. What about the health portion? What do I do when it comes to long-term care planning that can devastate your plan if you don't do something? So please pick up the phone. Just call us. Let us help you. Our team of certified financial planners will put together a plan specifically for you, and all we want to do is have a conversation. So please pick up the phone. Give us a call.
Yeah, eliminate the freak out, right? You don't want that. 866-668-3625. Grab one of those appointments. They're complimentary. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call the number now, 866-668-3625. That'll get you in touch with Elevated Financial Management. Secure one of the appointments. Again, they are complimentary. You leave the checkbook at home. 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth is in the books. For Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins, I'm Morgan Patrick. We will see you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.